Hello. Today we're going to be looking at a technique that uses Hapla wave elastic tape, which is going to allow us to provide some acute or temporary relief to symptoms in the metatarsal head area. The idea of this tape is we're going to both allow some increased edematous or inflammatory edematous reabsorption, as well as we're going to plantarflex both the first metatarsal and the fifth metatarsal to ensure that all 5 metatarsals are fully loaded from the midfoot to the propulsive phase of gait, so that no one metatarsal predominates with their weight bearing. So let's measure out this stretchy tape first. Obviously it's always good to find out from the patient if they're allergic to any of the components of this tape, and this tape is made of cotton, polyurethane elastic and also hypoallergenic adhesive. So it's good to know if those are good to go. If they are, fine, let's go, let's apply this tape. So let's measure out how much tape we need. This is very stretchy tape, so what you measure in the static tape will be a little bit less because you'll be putting stretch through it. So we're going to put some tape here across the metatarsal surface, metatarsal head surface, 2 layers, and then we're going to put a longitudinal layer along the long axis of the foot as well. So first of all, how much tape do we need? Approximately this, 2 pieces for the metatarsal heads. Let's cut that off. So whilst it doesn't look enough at the moment, remember we are going to stretch it. So rounding off the corners, or not to allow hosiery to pluck it off at the corners. That's always a nice way to start. Let's lay this down here. Right, with our first piece, we're going to establish 2 anchor points. Now, the anchor points are the edges of the tape through which you don't want to put any stretch. The stretch comes in the central part of the tape. And these anchor points are going to sit slightly dorsolaterally and dorsomedially. So to establish the 2 anchor points, we break the paper just by tearing it and then pulling the tape stretches so the paper tears. Okay? Then we roll back the paper, at both ends, to leave about 1 centimetre at either end, which is then our anchor point. So the golden rule then, no stretch through the anchor points. Note, I'm holding my thumbs and my fingers right across the whole length of the tape so I can pull it without curling the tape. That's 100%. We're going to be using 50, which is about halfway back. Okay, so with the foot in slight dorsiflexion, let's place this tape over the plantar aspect of the foot, but here is the part where you have to take it your time. We're going to, first of all, establish the central part of our tape just over the second metatarsal head. Then we're going to pull our tape gently, following the gentle curve of metatarsal heads 3, 4 and 5, so like so, holding at about 50% stretch, and then trying to establish no creases on the plantar aspect, we're going to bind it round the 5th metatarsal and slightly onto the dorsal surface. You can let go of the medial side. So smoothing it down on this side here, good skin contact, and we're just going to round the anchor point just onto the slightly dorsolateral surface of the 5th metatarsal. Similarly, on the medial side, again under 50% stretch, round it down, following the line, the curvature from the 2nd through to the 1st metatarsal head, and then establishing that anchor slightly dorsomedially over the 1st. That is your first piece. Okay? Activate the adhesive with a light rub from the waxy part of the paper, like so. Now, with your second piece, we're also going to establish 2 anchor points again, so we're just going to rip the paper in the centre, just pull the tape, like so, and then that frees up the paper in the middle of the tape, roll it back on one side, roll it back on the other side. The idea being with this tape then, that when you stand, what's going to happen is as this tape gets pulled, it will also have a plantarflexory force, or exert a plantarflexory force through the 1st metatarsal at the metcuneiform joint and through the 5th metatarsal at the metcuboid joint. So let's establish our second piece, which will be a 50% overlap over the first piece. Let's pull that tape. There's 100%. There's 50, halfway back. lay it on halfway over, smoothing your tape into the skin. Now, remember, no stretch on the anchor point, so you don't have to worry about the medial side. Roll dorsolaterally over the fifth, one anchor point, and dorso-medially over the first. Now, the third piece of tape will run at 90 degrees to the first two pieces, and it will run slightly proximally to the central metatarsal, well, to the base of the digits here, just over the central metatarsal heads, over the plantar aspect of the foot, plantar aspect of the heel, and it will run just behind the heel to finish roughly at the base of the insertional point, or mid-portion point, I should say, of the Achilles tendon. So let's measure out how much we need. Probably about this much, because remember, the tape will stretch. So cutting that out. Rounding off the corners as before. We're going to establish one anchor point first, so we're going to just break the tape here, break the paper on the back of the tape, pull the tape so it stretches, and then just peel that piece of paper away. Here's our first anchor point. Now we're going to lay this anchor point, then just proximal to the base of those digits, centrally over the met heads. There's our anchor here. Then we're going to free the paper. Okay, so just gently free that paper. Pull it back to establish the second anchor point. Then, remember 100% stretch would be this, but we're coming back by half to establish a 50% stretch. And just lay this down now. As you lay it down over the paper at 90 degrees, just smooth it into the skin so it has good contact with the skin. Remember, where the tape crosses the original tape at 90 degrees, that's where the maximum lift of the tape will be. And then lifting that skin from the deep fascia, lifting the deep fascia slightly, and establishing some space deep to the deep fascia for any inflammatory edema to be absorbed more quickly by the now not pressurized venules and lymph vessels. Okay, we've had 50% of stretch underneath the foot on the plantar aspect of the foot here, but as it comes up round the posterior aspect of the heel, there's no stretch at all the way back. So it's one big anchor point as we just roll it off to straddle the Achilles tendon, just smooth it in. Activate the adhesive on the tape, just rubbing it with the waxy part of the paper. There it is, the technique for general metatarsal pain, but also a technique which will ensure that all 5 metatarsal heads will rest evenly on the floor post-mid stance, obviously provided they have the motion at the Lisfranc joints at the back there.